Cash or trash on this board.
Ooh, the Exaltation
Oh.
Talisman of the Aged One in the center. That is very
Very
interesting.
late. Yeah, that is not one that they're going to be able to rush. You could almost maybe see that as being like the final square that somebody does. If they set up a diagonal, maybe they get the rest of it and end with that one. We do have some rushable ones, mostly in the bottom right corner that I'm seeing. We've got DLC Spirit Ashes. You can get those fairly quickly. DLC Shields, which we saw from the previous game, you can get relatively quickly as soon as you get into the backside of Shadow Keep, and a Black Knight boss, which, you know, can be a bit tricky, but if you have the right strategy, you can get early. Other than that, ooh, there's also a boss after inflicting 3 different status effects. Synergizes great with the Black Knight boss. You will see a lot of players that'll do even a +0, although you don't have to. But you can do +0, 3 different status effects, Black Knight boss, all in Fort of Reprimand, and like that is huge synergy for some very early squares potentially that I expect to see at least one of them set up for.
Yeah, I really want to see the weapon choices come out here as well. I'm assuming both are going to be going for the Great Katana, but I mean, we've been seeing more and more and more backhand blades, so I would not be surprised seeing that come out as well for one of these players. Looking at the current tier choices that Tom is going for, he's going for backhand blades. I'm like, I want to say 90% sure, grabbing the Thorny Cracked tier here from the Kale shop. That is definitely a backhand blade tier. Oh, actually, wait, maybe not. I might have lied because he just leveled 18 decks. And that is definitely Great Katana level decks, not backhand blade decks. So, never mind.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
maybe
see.
maybe a little bit of both. Maybe he goes Great Katana for the Black Knight boss because it is so powerful against him. I think it is the clear #1 choice for the Black Knight boss. But maybe then he sets up for instead doing the backhand blades a little bit after that. So as soon as you get those 3 different status effects on the Black Knight, you know, maybe then for the next bosses afterwards, you swap over to those backhand blades. It's all going to be comfort picks, I think, a lot for the players because there's nothing on here that forces them to use one or the other. So it's really free reign of whatever they like.
Yeah, this is definitely very interesting. We have the fog wall dropping here in about 30 seconds. The 3 statuses, that might be something that they could eyeball here as well with the status stick, aka the club. They could buy some greases and maybe use that on the Black Knight as well if you wanted to. Try to go for a little bit of a double up. I really, really do like the Road 2 here because Drain the Water really plays into Kill a Base Game Boss in the DLC for that Tree Sentinel, and it gives you that map progression anyways to where you can do the Highland Cross, skip into Rolana Twin Moon Knight. So you could kind of play around Road 2 here. Clearing 2 Evergails does take a hot minute, and here we go. Match did start. Let's get it going. You know, it feels so nice that fog wall does not screw up anymore. We've had, knock on wood, we've had some really good match days where everything's working, and it feels so nice when everything just comes together like this. It's fantastic. I'm having such a great time now. Like, there's so much less stress. I know some people, dude, when this season started, people were like, man, Dom, you always look stressed. You always look stressed. I'm like, yeah, there's things happening every single time. Something is not working. I can't be in full commentator mode if I know that tech issues are bound to happen. It's a little tricky, but luckily with these last couple of match days, everything's been going a lot better. So getting into the zone of things is going to be a lot easier too. Both of them looks like rushing for that 3-path cross grace here. Probably going to be going for the Great Katana, maybe into Savage Lion's Claw could be an option, and then we'll see kind of what they're thinking right after that.
Yeah, I don't see too much that would lend itself towards needing that Savage Lion's Claw. I do always love picking it up. I think it's just a great Ash of War to use on it. But we might see them skip it just because there's not so much of NPCs on here. One synergy that we haven't mentioned yet that I want to point out is kill a base game boss in the DLC and kill Demi-Human Mariga. So that is a direct synergy right there. If you went for that, you could get 2 squares right away. If you did that after the Ancient Dragon Man boss, that's another square on the board. If that gave you progress towards Lamenter, that's another square on the board, all on that bottom row.
Yeah.
So that is another one where huge synergy. If you're the first one to get through Ancient Dragon Man, you've got priority on Demi-Human Mariga, you've got priority on Lamenter. If you've already gotten Black Knight boss first, that's huge pressure. The only thing that your opponent might be able to do to counter that is a DLC Legendary Ash. So I might see that as a very, very strong early threat, is that bottom row, that row 5.
That row 5 is genuinely really, really nice. I didn't even notice that. Also, the other nice thing here with Drain the Water is the ulcerated tree spirits on row 4, column 3, because then you get access to those tree spirits in the Churchwater district. So Shadowkeep here / Ancient Dragonman access, I think, are both really, really required, especially with the dragon bosses in row 1, column 4. So yeah,
dragon bosses and Florisax. This is I think a huge Ancient Dragon Man board. I think whoever goes for Ancient Dragon Man first is going to have so much priority on so many of these squares. There's even Bale. I don't expect them to rush that, but there's no way that, you know, this board is going to end without one or probably both players killing that Ancient Dragon Man boss. So if you are the person who does that first and you get the square for it, that's going to be a big advantage. So I would love to see, after the early game rush, after the collection things, I would love to see one or both players go for Ancient Dragon Man. But maybe we see one go there and one go for Church District, and, you know, we could see a very interesting splitting up of these very important squares.
And it looks like currently GrandPOOBear is a little bit ahead when it comes to map progression, going to be going towards TLEA already. And Tom grabbing the perfume bottle just to have that currently. I'm assuming there is a collect 4 perfume bottle square. There is in the top right.
Yep.
So he's just prepping that just in case he does need it. He already grabbed it on the way, grabbing Tilia. Now, the one thing that Tom has over Pooh now is that he already has an upgraded weapon. So he might be behind on map progression, but he already has a plus 24 Great Katana, whereas Pooh currently has the weapon but hasn't gone back and upgraded yet. So they're both kind of still tied when it comes to progression / character progression.
Yeah, and I did see that at the start, Tom did get the 3 different status effects. He did get the 3 different greases, and he equipped them on his bar, so he is very ready if he wants to go directly to do that 3 status effects on the Black Knight boss, which is what I'm really, really expecting him to rush. I don't think that you would buy those greases right away unless that was a very early plan from you, because if it got sniped, you know, then you've just wasted all of this money for nothing. So I expect the buying of it is indicating that's what he wants to do right away.
Pooh here, by the way, getting the Tilia skip first try, and also Tom now getting it first try as well. Props to both of them. It is somewhat of a weird skip sometimes, so seeing it first try is always like really, really nice to get that going. And honestly, for Pooh here, I'm not going to lie, forfeiting possibly the Black Knight 3 status rush and maybe going for Draining the Water right away. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the match, sometimes going for that second fastest thing might just be better. You know, giving up possibly 3 statuses or Hanging Pot Bell Bearings might just be worth it. Go ahead, drain that water, get yourself some more map progression, get yourself set up a little bit more. They can go for Rolana if you really needed to, or just go for that base game boss in the DLC with Demi-Human America right afterwards. Looks like he's going to go for upgrading here for Pooh, as Tom is now in Fort Reprimand as well.
Yes, what I almost might like to see is sort of letting go of the 3 different status effects, but just doing a Black Knight boss anyway. If you can get it before the other player who's trying to wait out those 3 different status effects, and you snipe away one of the 2 squares they were trying to get synergy with, you kind of make them almost feel like they've wasted their time a little bit, even though it's a, you know, fair 1 square to 1 square lead. But I do think Tom is going to get both here first, because he rushed in there. He said, I don't need, you know, to get this grace necessarily. Boom, I'm just going to go right in. He's already got rot. He needs to get frost. Oh, strange time for him to refrost. I would have expected it after a stagger, but as long as he has no incidents here, he should be able to get this square first.
Really, really nice. Got the rot, got the bleed. Going to be getting the frost here in just a moment. One more R1 should do it. There it is, the frost. Not taking the riposte here, as the R1s is a little bit quicker. Gets another bleed proc. And yeah, this is a very, very fast Black Knight 3 status kill from Tom here. Very, very quick indeed. This is going to be not much of a snipe necessarily, but there is a Black Knight boss in 3 statuses. So Pooh doesn't have to go for that anymore. He is upgraded now, but at the very least, he didn't lose out on statuses / Black Knight too heavily. And go straight now into Morth Ruins, progressing, maybe going for Drain the Water, like I mentioned before. Does block both of those lines.
Yeah, if he does get there first, that is definitely a good one to get. It's one that you're kind of gonna want that progress into the back anyway. And so even though it's gonna take a little while to get to drain the water, it is one that is all map progress. You get there, you get that, and you know you are so far ahead on the map that even if it's only the one square you're getting, maybe Tom gets a square in the meantime, you say, hey, but I've got all this map progress. Now I can get DLC shields before you. Now I can get ulcerated tree spirits before you. Now I can, go to all these different places before you. And so I think draining the water is a very, very high priority square, even if it doesn't appear quite as rushable as some others.
I would like to see Drain the Water straight into Ancient Dragon Man here, to be honest, from Pooh.
Yes,
I think going for those accessibility squares is going to be really, really good for him here, because then you block out that whole, corner square that Tom just got with that Black Knight boss. Get access to DLC shields, so you block that diagonal. You then also get the Drain the Water, which blocks the column. You get the Ancient Dragon Man, which blocks the row. And on top of that, you get a bunch of access with Flora Sacks, which you can activate with that DLC shields now. Then that row 4 looks really nice just for you. And then getting access to Spirit Ashes on top of that. So just overall, yeah, honestly, the play from Drain the Water into Ancient Dragon Man, that row 4 for Pooh then is really, really strong, because then he has access to Tree Spirits, Bale, Flora Sacks, DLC shields. He's got all of that priority, and that would be just really, 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 really nice for sure. That could really turn around the whole board for him.
Yeah, but it looks like he is instead maybe going for the DLC Legendary Ash, which is a more rushable square, but, it's this area of the map that there just isn't that much in. It does get him a shield, though, as well. So it will get him both the Legendary Ash and one of the shields. If he then goes to the backside of Shadowkeep, drains the water, gets the other 2 shields, that is quite a few squares very early. I don't dislike this plan, but I might have done it in the opposite order. I might have done Drain the Water first, and then maybe come here and get the Spirit Ash and finish off the DLC shields. But either way, a strong play, but one that's a little scary for him, because Tom could now head to the Drain the Water first and take that away. So even though Pooh does have a bit of an earlier start getting into things while Tom was fighting, Tom now has a chance, if he goes for it, to snipe away one of those squares that I imagine Pooh is thinking of next.
Yeah, it looks like actually for Tom, he might be looking at that diagonal, going for Red Bear here now, and
Red Bear,
Altus.
yes.
That top left square going to be activating possibly that diagonal. Then with Rolana right next to this is something where after Pooh does get Legendary Ash Summon, draining that water to access those DLC shields. And here's one thing. I'm expecting Pooh to get DLC shields, because this was actually Pooh's suggestion of a square. He's the one who's like, hey, can we have DLC shields, please? So I think this would be really cool if Pooh would actually get this, because that would play into the whole board. And it's his own baby. It's his own brainchild on the board.
Yeah, and definitely he's in a good spot for it. I think that definitely I would expect that to be his plan, and I think it's going to work. I think he's going to get there first for the DLC shields, because he'll have the Smith Script one here, and very, close-ish, relatively for this point in the board, to getting the ones in the back of Shadowkeep, because he already has those Morth Ruins.
There it is, overhead stance on this Red Bear here. Does get the riposte right afterwards. This is a very, very strong Red Bear fight already from Tom. I really want to test out this whole standing behind Red Bear strat now.
Oh no, Pooh! He died in in the forge here. Oh, that is unfortunate.
Did he grab the Grace in the forge?
I'm not entirely sure. He did.
Okay.
So he's fine on that, but yeah, you got to go back through it. He did not get the changing the direction of the big pillar thing in the middle.
Yeah.
So he's got to go all the way back through from the start.
That is definitely rough for sure. Definitely not a huge time loss, but still going to make a bit of a difference here, especially once Tom does get the Red Bear kill here. Once he does get this, going for draining the water is going to cause some serious problems here for Pooh. But it looks like he's going from Red Bear straight into Rolana for Tom. Gets that really nice Red Bear kill.
Yeah.
Ports straight back to Highland Cross. I think he's going straight for that Rolana diagonal.
Yeah, I mean, This is a strong play from Tom, but I think it is going to let Pooh really know he needs to get those DLC shields right away. And so hopefully Pooh will not, get too stressed about this because he knows, okay, but I've already got a shield. I can get to the backside of Shadowkeep first, and I can block this diagonal. So nothing to worry about too much there. But yeah, Tom with a big square lead to start out, and it might get a little bit bigger if he gets this Rilana before Pooh finishes off the DLC Legendary Ash. But I think Pooh should get on the board before we see this 4th square from Tom.
Yeah, this is going to take a little bit, though. This is a little bit of an early Rilana, so his damage output is not going to be as high as usual, not having those same Skidoo levels as normally when you do, like, mid to late game. This is a 13-minute Rilana we're looking at here, so it's a very early Rilana normally. Yeah, Pooh going to be getting this Legendary Summon here, going to be grabbing the row 5 block. I think, yeah, once he does get the drain, I think it's going to be really, really nice, though, from Pooh as well, getting that momentum and blocking that row 2 because that Rilana is going to be activating that row 2 even more than for Tom here.
Yes. And so let's see. It does look like Pooh is going for the backside of Shadowkeep. He's teleporting to Morth. Great decision from him. I think so far both of them have been, they have a plan, and they're executing it both very well so far. Tom just saying, hey, I'm just going to get as many squares as I can early. And Pooh saying, maybe I want some more of this map presence first. Pooh actually switching now. Oh, is he going for Ancient Dragon Man? That does open up a lot of squares. I think this is also a great plan, although once he sees Rilana, I do hope he's going to pivot into those DLC shields because I do not want that threat of the diagonal looming over him for too much longer. If he can get rid of that threat and have Ancient Dragon Man, he'll be very, very well set up in the map here for sure.
Definitely agree. There's a nice bleed proc here from Tom right now on Rilana, getting some nice dodges off. The question here for Pooh is once he does get Ancient Dragon Man, does he switch? Or does he just, maybe he just doesn't see the immediate threat, I guess. And that draining the water would just be worth, your time here. Nice dodges here from Tom, though. The up close magic sword attack gets the...
Yeah, does not look like he was expecting it, but he reacted to it very well.
Yeah, it's very tricky to try and react to some of the transitional attacks from Rilana because it does seem random sometimes. Normally when you're really close, she does do the fire sword attack or weapon art, but sometimes you'll be really close and she'll start doing the blue sword instead, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to respond to this, and they just get absolutely obliterated from her flurry. Really nice bleed proc again, though. Does get hit here from the Rilana attacks, but does get a huge bleed proc with that Lord's Blood's Exaltation Talisman. Gets a nice damage buff, going from some R1s. One more R1, if not 2, should do it. There it is, a jumping R2. Takes out Rilana.
Jumping. Oh, it gets a stagger, actually. Does not get the kill. Oh, that was scary with the little knives, but ends up taking her out, ends up living through that because of the armor that he had. And there it is. Pooh now sees it. He is in the cave, so he probably wants to finish out Ancient Dragon Man. But after that, I hope that he does go for those DLC shields for the Drain the Water. And, we've got ourselves a game. An interesting setup with Tom going for the early lead in squares and Pooh, I think, still having the big lead in map presence at this point. So it's not as though Tom is running away with this one. Pooh definitely has a lot of compensation for being down a few squares at this point.
This is looking really bad, though. If Pooh is going to be stuck in this Ancient Dragon Man fight, this is definitely Tom going to be making his way towards draining that water now. And if he does get drained that water, that row 2 is very, very devastating because that's going to be a base game boss in the DLC here then for Tom. But, big but, is if Pooh gets Ancient Dragon Man, he can go for that Demi-Human Mariga base game boss DLC play that you were talking about before. So if he does see that, that would be huge. And that'd be a really nice block from Pooh. And then he gets that whole axis that we were talking about before on top of all of that. So, Really hoping that works out for Pooh, and I'm hoping he sees the same thing. A lot of damage here, though.
A lot of damage. Yeah, he has no armor, so he is just taking that full damage from Ancient Dragon Man's attacks. He is playing very well, but you're always scared with the no armor play. We can see kind of the difference here of Tom probably would have died to Rolana if he did not have armor at the end there. So sometimes that armor, you know, it's very cheap in Round Table Hold. It does not have that like, you know, increased cost necessarily of some of the other items that you can buy from Kale, and it is very, very powerful just to have something to equip.
Very nice kind of the poke strat here from GPB, though. Getting some nice damage in and then backing off to make sure that he does not get tagged by any of those melee attacks. Always got to be careful here. Oh, my no. That's
Yeah.
we were talking about that yesterday, man. That Dragon Maw, it just does so much damage. GPB, however, being a Chad, just smiling that death off. Gonna go back into that fight here really quickly right after that. I don't think that that's the wrong screen. I don't think that going in for a second try is a bad idea, but he's got to be really, really careful now. Once that drain the water is marked, he's going to be in some deep, deep trouble if he does not go for Demi-Human America right afterwards.
Yeah, he is definitely going to need that. And yeah, here once again, I think it really is just the armor difference. I think if Pooh had armor, I think that he would live. Maybe not the first one. That Maw is ridiculous damage, but at least that second one, the weapon art of the Ancient Dragon Man, I think is livable if you have some armor. So, oh, this time it does look like he also has Bubble Shield. He may have forgotten to activate it on the previous attempt, but that should let him live through at least one attack. So hopefully he just makes good use of it, doesn't take any damage until maybe those giant hits that, you know, sometimes you miss the roll on.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's doing great so far.
Getting some nice punishes here, backs off to make sure that he can get even more. Gets the Dragon Maw. NPT here, getting close to draining that water in the church district.
Yeah, Tom is definitely going to get that one first. I still think Pooh probably has the advantage on the DLC shield, so at least, you know, he will have that. But this draining the water is going to be a big snipe for Tom. He's now got the better access into the back of Shadow Keep, as well as yet another square that might go to his lead.
I mean, here's the troublesome thing now for Pooh, though, is the fact that, yeah, maybe he does have one DLC shield, but if he does not get that square very soon, NPT will be able to get the 2 thrusting shields and then also get the Wolf Crest shield, which is actually in Castle Ensis.
Yes.
Because he does have Ensis access now, especially with that Rolana kill, so he can just go ahead and just drop down and grab that shield, and then he'll have that really strong diagonal for that Acquired One's Exaltation Talisman.
Yeah, that is not a spot you want to be in because if you're Pooh, that's not something you want to be forced to do early.
Right.
But it's also not something you want to just leave open so that Tom could make progress towards it.
Here it is, though,
So
Ancient Dragon.
Either way, there it is.
That's nice.
Yeah, Pooh really needs the DLC shields here. I almost would say that he should just pour it out without this grace. I know that's very inefficient, but I think this DLC shields is so important right now. I think that losing that might just be, you know, a game-changing, game-sealing almost play. So Pooh needs to get out of here, like, right away.
Yeah, he needs to make a tough decision. He is going to Morth Ruin, so I think he's seeing the same thing. Thinking, okay, I should drain the water. That should be marked right now.
Yep.
But he should still lean into going for those shields as soon as possible. He has that 2 Skidoo. Going to be leveling up to 3 now. Going to level some even more. He should be buying that armor from Round Table, though, to help him out just a little bit. But is spending all his money on levels instead.
Yeah, definitely something you probably would want to have seen him do at the very start of the match, because it is slow to go back to Round Table. He's going back to the Dragon's Pit. What is he cooking? He might be going Demi-Human Mariga, which, as we pointed out, is great synergy here. But if he gives up DLC shields, that's a really, really rough spot to be in.
Yep.
So if Tom goes for it, if Tom says, hey, I think even though you have the legendary DLC Ash, I think I can beat you to the shields, that would be a huge, huge swing for Pooh to take all that time acquiring that shield with the legendary Ash and then to lose the square could be a huge upset for him.
Yeah, dude, we're in a tough position here where also for Tom, because he does have Shadowkeep access, GPB will not be able to really defend the Aged One's Exaltation because
Yeah.
Tom will then have already first floor access and be able to get there way before GrandPOOBear can. So he's going to be in a really tough spot regardless. Yeah. And yeah, it looks like, yeah, he's going for that carry and thrusting shield here. That's right next to his Fire Knight.
And then he's going for... I think Tom will end up getting the DLC shields first because Pooh is not going for them as long as Tom just finishes this out, which it looks like he will. As far as, yeah, another maybe often overlooked part of going for a diagonal as your own line is it indirectly blocks every single other line on the board. Obviously, if you have a diagonal, you win, but even if you have 4 of the diagonals, that blocks 4 different rows, 4 different columns. Like, it is so powerful to go for these diagonals because they are the best blocks, as well as being a line that a lot of players just don't see, and you can almost sneak it in broad sight of just, yeah, I am going for the diagonal, and not every player, recognizes those as much as rows and columns are.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in quite a few matches where players are just like staring at the board and they just don't see the diagonal. It's happened like to me as well during a lot of practice matches. Like, oh, I'm fine. And it's like, no, the diagonal. Like, oh my god. Like I wasn't even looking. I was looking at rows and columns this whole time. So there it is, though. That dueling shield now for Tom. He's got 2 shields quitting out here. I'm assuming this is going to be a port straight to
it's gotta be
Castle Ensis
right
now,
there,
getting that Wolf Crest shield.
And once he gets this, Tom is going to have his pick. He's then almost blocked off every single line that Pooh can do. He could rush the Aged One's Exaltation, knowing that he has that slight priority to get there. Or he could just leave it and say, hey, Pooh, your only option is to go get this talisman. Are you going to do it? It takes a really long time. So, yeah, Tom will have his pick of whatever he wants if he gets this shield square first, which... yeah, he will as long as he can get this skip to near Moonrathil.
I'm not gonna lie, if that Black Knight boss square went the different direction, Pooh's pressure would be insane right now.
Yes, yes.
That would be a really, really strong row 5 with him having access to Ancient Dragon Man. But I think at that point, Tom would not be, obviously in Shadowkeep. He'd also have killed Ancient Dragon Man at this point as well with that pressure. But still, yeah, that one corner square pulls a lot of weight. And here it is. That's the 3rd shield now for Tom. Going to be marking 3 DLC shields on the board here. Tom really activating that diagonal, just showcasing Aged One's Exaltation as the last one. And I do wonder if Tom is going to be going for that right away.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like a very Tom play, but I can see on my screen that he does have it highlighted, so I think he is going to go for it. He has it highlighted as a potential one that he's going for, and it looks like he's just going to say, hey, I'm just going to rush this bingo. I think you're going for something else. If you didn't get DLC shields, then I don't think you have Shadowkeep access, and so I think I can get there before you.
Yeah, I do think that the Ancient Dragon Man call, even though was a good call, was a bit too soon, a bit premature of a choice, whereas he could have just gone straight for the Drain the Water first because you don't need to necessarily kill anything. It's just full-on map progression. And that would have played into DLC shields, really getting all those blocks that we were talking about. The Legendary Ash Summon pick, I think, was a great, great idea to block that row 5 and get a DLC shield, and it really played into those other 2 blocks that we're talking about. But sadly, Pooh kind of opting into that Ancient Dragon Man just a little too early, and it's kind of biting him in the butt now.
Yeah, and so now Tom is going for the Parry Dagger, which is a requirement to get that Aged One's Exaltation. I almost forgot. I almost said, why is he not going to Jory right now? But you do need that Parry Dagger first. Yeah. And so he knows that, and so, yeah, he is absolutely rushing for this Aged One's Exaltation, and I think he's going to get it. He could even die here, might be faster. He does die, and he sees Mariga marked now, so Tom has to know. He says, okay, now I know I'm way ahead on this. As long as I have no incidents on Jory, Tom has to know that's just going to end it. He's way ahead on Aged One's Exaltation.
I do have to say though, like at least nice catching here from Pooh, seeing that synergy,
Yes.
and being like, hey, I could block column here and also row 2. It's just a little too late, especially with that DLC shield situation. If he would have gotten shields and then did this play again, that would have been huge. I think these are all like great ideas that Pooh has. It's just that the order and that he's doing them in is not as effective. I think going for that drain and then going for Demi-Human as a base game boss with Ancient Dragon Man would have been a great play from Pooh. It's just the situation that he's currently in now is just not reflecting that decision.
Yeah, imagine if only 2 squares were flipped. The Drain the Water and the DLC Shields. Imagine if Pooh had just gone for those 2 first and those 2 were flipped. Now all of a sudden, Pooh would be in a commanding lead at this point. But because he just went for it in the opposite order and first went for Ancient Dragon Man, yeah, I mean, like, he just has no recourse, no defense against this Aged One's Exaltation. Like, that diagonal is so powerful by getting all of the early ones in that diagonal and then leaving this one late one as the final one. It's like, even if Tom gets sniped here, which we know is not going to happen, but even if he got sniped here, it's still just a really hard spot for Pooh, being, you know, this kind of far behind in so many other things at this point.
Yeah, this is a tough position to be in for Pooh, 110%. Looks like he's looking for Hangpot Bell Bearings right now and maybe trying to activate that column 3. I don't think there's anything wrong with like calling this bluff, especially pre 30 minutes, being like, I don't think you're going to rush necessarily Aged One's Exaltations. We just started playing. So like being like, okay, you know what, I'm going to kind of work towards column 3 and still kind of turn that possibly into a threat for myself while that's still on the board.
Yeah, but the longer it goes with seeing nothing marked from Tom, the more suspicious you've got to get that he is going for the Aged One's Exaltation. It's only been a few minutes at this point since the acquired DLC shields, but you know, as that's going to turn into maybe 5 more minutes of Tom going through the Cataclysm or Catacomb and getting through Jory, you're going to start to know and maybe feel that sense of dread of, yeah, if he's going for it, nothing I can do at this point.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see how Jory goes, though, for Tom as well, for it being really, really early. He probably has a really good comfortability with the backstab lube on Jory, but just in case, this could be maybe too early of a call as well when it comes to... Oh.
He got grabbed by the fly at the same time as resting, so he was stuck in the grab animation with no fly.
That was very interesting. Look, it looked like he was just possessed for a second there, grabbing his head.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Grabs the Hangpot Bell Bearing here, though, just in case as well. Nice little pickup on the way to Jory. Doesn't even pick it up, though, just leaves it on the ground. He just drops it, and he's like, you know what, I'll get that later if I really need to. It goes all the way down here. There's the first Hangpot Bell Bearing, though, for Pooh.
He thinks it's all the way down. It's not quite here. He'll just move on.
Yeah, he's like, it's whatever. I'll grab it later.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny, though.
I'll grab it after the match. Next match, I'll grab that bearing.
Pooh grabbing the first Hangpot Bell Bearing here now, and then going for his second one, possibly going for the Invader here first, I guess, to clear that, and then going for the next pot bell bearing. Yeah, this might be a really quick bingo just from Tom here in the next like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I do think, you know, it is still a long square from here. It may be closer to the 10-minute mark than the 5-minute mark, but certainly that is the next thing that I expect to see from Tom, and yeah, that'll pretty much just do it.
Yeah, just an unfortunate positioning here. But this is also kind of like what we expected from Tom, to be honest.
Yeah.
With like just really strong gameplay, really strong showcase of board reading, and creating as much pressure as possible early on so that he can pick whatever he wants rather than having to deal with blocking or having to think outside of like what he wants to do as a plan. And I think that's really strong from players. Damn, that Curse Blade did not want Pooh to have that Skidoo fragment.
Yeah.
It's like that's going to be really strong for players, is really just trying to stay in the driver's seat and commanding the match.
Yeah, and Tom has done a great job of that. Not only in this game, but in, a lot of the games that he's been in, he's at least been fighting for that driver's seat, even though, he hasn't had maybe the results that he might have wanted or expected. But certainly in this match, keeping that driver's seat has been great for him. I love that skip that he does, by the way, in these Dark Light Catacombs.
Yeah, it's cool.
He's one of the players that I have seen that does that version of the skip rather than landing on the ladder. It's even a little bit faster, and he feels very comfortable with it, so I love to see that. It's such a fast version. I tried to learn it. I'm pretty bad at it so far, but he is very comfortable with it. And so it gives him a big advantage coming down here if he has to do Jory, just knowing, hey, I've got this skip in my back pocket that not everyone knows or not everyone can execute. And yeah, it's getting him down here super quick.
It's a really cool skip. It's honestly, it's not too bad. And the nice thing is also, like, if you do screw it up, there is a Stake of America, like, right there. So you just get ported back to the staircase. You can try again. It's not too much of a time sink to try it, and I think that's a really, really nice thing for sure. Pooh here now, working on the next Hanging Pot Bell Bearing potentially, but also going for Churchwater District access. I think he's just like realizing, well, I might as well try and at least work towards that H1's exaltation. But here it is, Tom making his way towards Jory now, going to be entering this fight in a couple of seconds, and this is going to be a quick possible bingo line in the next like minute to 2 minutes here.
Yeah, he just has to get this backstab loop on Jory, which is tougher than it looks, I will say. When I was first learning it, I had a really hard time. It's possible to fit some R1s in between, but it's a lot safer to just go for the backstabs, and it does look like that's what Tom is going to do. Oh, he does know after the teleport, Jory has a cooldown on his teleport, so you can get a couple of big attacks in instead. You don't have to go exclusively for the backstabs after you see the teleport, but now I expect he's going to wait for the next backstab.
Oh,
misses it though. Yeah, it has to deal with a couple of summons, although this is not the worst summon. No, this is kind of a bad summon pack to see. Little bit of a disaster here, but makes it through.
Was
he just
not
has
the
to start
worst.
getting back into it.
Yeah. It's going to have to wait out the teleport for this next one, though. There should be a teleport here. There it is. And now, I think it's like teleport, and then if you cancel it, it's 2 attacks, and then he tries to teleport again. So you got a little bit of a window.
Yeah, I think it's technically a time as opposed to a number of attacks, but generally your rule is he will do at least 2 attacks based on the amount of time in between teleports. Okay, with one more backstab, he should be able to get it. He might even just go for a big attack here. Yeah, just going for the overhead stance. Kills Jory. All he has left is to get the parry on the Aged One, and he will be able to have it here.
That wolf did not like that Pooh was trying to go for that Hanging Pot Bell Bearing, kind of annoying him. That Furnace Golem also really not liking it. Pooh has to be really careful here. That Furnace Golem getting a little too close while Pooh is going to be using
reloading here.
The repeating crossbow to knock down that Hanging Pot Bell Bearing. Where'd that Furnace Golem go?
I think he was walking around. I think the Furnace Golem really wanted to get in melee range.
Oh, I guess he reset.
Resets. Ah.
I did not know that he could do that. Huh. There it is. Hanging Pot Bell Bearing from Pooh now going to be marking that square. And we're going to see in just a moment that Aged One's Exaltation Talisman pop up on Tom's screen in no more than 60 seconds. I've been saying that for more than 60 seconds, but you know what? Give it another 60 seconds.
Just one more 60 seconds. This will be the 60 seconds.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not too far away from here. I think it's just a little bit to the right after the matting hand.
It's a bit of a walk because we don't have Torrent. If you had Torrent, it would not be that far, but just the walking speed is so very slow. He does have to make it, past the matting hand, over, somewhat near the church, and then go to that one specific Aged One.
And again, just mentioning this too, I don't think that Pooh necessarily is bad at all at execution. It was just the decision making here that really kind of led to the way the board that is right now. Like he had some really good ideas and he really executed on those ideas. It's again just the pattern, not the pattern. The what's the word I'm looking for? The sequence.
Pathing.
The pathing. Yeah,
Yeah.
the sequence of squares that he did that kind of just like backfired, which is a shame. That's just something that's going to take a little bit. Parry's here trying to come out from Tom on this aged one or aged untouchable. Does get the parry there now. Going to go for that riposte.
It is now the aged touchable at this point because you are now allowed to hit it after you get a parry.
He does get Madness proc
though.
here. He's got to be careful. There's that Frost proc. There is that bingo.
That'll do it.
And it is a 36.36 bingo match. And Pooh being like, oh, he actually did go for it. All right, GG's. There it is. There it is. Yeah, that was a very bold, bulldozy match for sure with that diagonal line.
Yes, for sure.
Very hard to respond to when you have so many things going on. And Pooh just literally saying in chat, the diagonal.
The diagonal.
It does happen.
So funny.
It does happen. Let me go ahead and message them and see if they're ready. And yeah, GG's though to Tom here, going 2 for 2 now on his leaderboard record. Pooh sadly going to be a 0 to 3, but as we said before, still has a lot of leg room, a lot of matches to kind of get some other matches on the board for him. And he already had the Tolia's concoction, by the way. There it is, the floor sacks. Going to be marking it even though the match is over. Just grab some more squares.
Refs don't count it. Refs don't count it. Don't put it on the scoreboard.
But here we go. I'm gonna bring in Tom here. We're gonna go into that post-match screen and see how that whole match went for him. Welcome in, Tom. GG's. How you doing, sir?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Pretty much did exactly what I wanted to do on this board, so it worked out.
Yeah, that was overall like a really strong diagonal to look at, especially once that Black Knight boss fell with that Red Bear straight into Rolana. Was definitely a huge build up here. When it came to like the board first appearing, was that a diagonal you were looking at from the very beginning, or was that just something you saw later on once like Road 2 got blocked, or some of the squares that Pooh went for?
Yeah, so I had a couple of ideas. One was just rush the diagonal. The second one was kind of create the diagonal threat, leave H1s, go for hanging pots, go for base game boss, go for giant hand, potentially spirit ashes since he got the legendary ash summon, just take that from him while he worked on other stuff. So I had essentially the first 3 squares was just Black Knight boss, 3 stats effects, Red Bear. I was like, that's just a really good start. That's kind of what I've been looking for eventually, you know, from one of these boards in official matches, something like this, because I like these kinds of boards where I just get to get a weapon, go kill, and just get a lot of map progression at the same time.
Yeah, no, 100%. When it came to a little bit of like the mid/late game, did you always like full consider just like full sending that line for the diagonal, or was there some thought in your brain of like maybe I should just let that sit a little bit and maybe go for something else, or were you just like really confident like, you know what, I'm just gonna go diagonal because there's no reason for me to linger here?
Well, he marked legendary ash summon, so he was in Morth Ruins. But then he marked Ancient Dragon Man when I got the water draining. And
right, yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm ahead, so I'll go for the shields. And then he marked base game boss with Mariga, and I'm like, he has no progress in Shadowkeep, so I have to go get the bingo.
Yeah, which is super fair. Let's go ahead and bring in GrandPOOBear here as well. Welcome in, GrandPOOBear. GG's, man.
Oh, GG's. I was blind to the diagonal.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that. We're wondering if you were
happens.
seeing that or not. But diagonals are sometimes tricky to see for sure. But I mean, still like a good game plan from you overall on this bingo board. I think some things, if they did change a little bit, would have been really strong. But overall, I think you had a really good idea of like what you were going for. What was your full game plan? Since you said you were cooking there.
Dude, I thought I was cooking for a second. There was a small second where I was like, oh man, I'm cooking actually. I feel like I'm in a good spot, but I don't know why I didn't even think about the diagonal. I don't know why I didn't even see it, because it's something I always look at too, and I just didn't even it didn't even occur to me that he was going to get the diagonal right there. I'm very dumb on that one. Yeah, so we both went for Black Knight early.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not gonna have the lines MPT does. Not surprised he beat me there. But I thought that was the early play. It's a corner spot. It's something that I know I can do with, low levels, very confident in it. You know what I mean? So I felt like that was a pretty good play right there. Not surprised he got it before me. So then immediately I pivoted over to DLC Summoning Ash because it gets you a shield, a Spirit Ash right there. Then I would only have to clear like one jail, and I could get the one beneath Reprimand if I wanted to go that way. And then, Lamenter was on there. So I felt like that was like synergistic, had some synergy right there. And then I was like, and then I can go kill Red Bear for the Nameless Mausoleum right afterwards. He popped me on that one though. He got. Now, did he kill? He killed the regular Red Bear, then I'm assuming.
The bear that is red.
He killed the actual bear. Yeah. So my thought was, I'm gonna get Taylu, and then I'm gonna get Taylu, go kill the knight, get some armor, and then kill the Nameless Knight, and then, or what is he, Jail Knight, and then go kill Red Bear. And so when he sniped me on that, I felt like that Taylu run was a little less beneficial. That was definitely like, that was my plan after that. And so after that, it was a lot of like, all right, where can I block him? I knew Demi-Human was going to be worth 2, and it was going to block him both ways. So that was just like where I went after that. And I took one bad death to Ancient Dragon Man like an idiot. So
so like we were kind of talking about that a little bit. Was Drain the Water ever on your radar though, GrandPOOBear?
I don't know if you noticed, but before I went to Ancient, or right after I finished Ancient Dragon Man, I went to Morth. Yeah. And I was gonna go Drain the Water, but then it popped up. So then I figured, all right, I'm gonna go kill Demi-Human. I'm gonna rush to Demi-Human because that'll block him on that second row. That second row. Not realizing that's not what I need. Well, I mean, I guess I needed to block that too, but really, I needed to go drain that water so I could go get into Abysmal Woods right there. But I mean, but realistically, honestly, like let's say he does let me go to Abysmal Woods, he's just spanking me to 13 at that point too. So he had me in a tough spot. He had me in a tougher spot after he drained the water than I realized. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Did you think about finishing off those shields, since you already had the one from the DLC Legendary Ash Summon? Did you think about going for those shields? Obviously, you kind of missed the diagonal there, but was that a thought that you had, maybe doing that instead of Ancient Dragon Man? Or were you always thinking, I'm going to do Ancient Dragon Man first and then see what's up from there?
Shields was a pretty big priority in my mind early. Like, I really thought to myself, like, getting those shields is going to be really important, especially if he gets Black Knight. Right. And once I got, and it's really part of the reason why I went to Taylu. I just thought it was like synergistic with 3 or 4 squares right there. And I once he went to Rolana, I don't know why I didn't press it more, because in my mind I was like, all right, I'd go to Castle Enos. I know it's not called that. I go to Castle Enos, shield, get Rolana all at one time. That's what like I had in my mind, and I don't know why. For once he did that, I was like, oh wait, okay, I'll go get that shield last. I'll get another shield, and then I got so focused on stuff behind Dragon Man, because then I was like, oh, Lamenter's back here, Floristax. Oh my God, I can get Perfumers and block them on column 5. I can get Perfumers, like, you know what I mean? I just got so like laser focused behind there, because I thought I could stay back there, snipe a bunch of stuff. I thought, I mean, I could get Dragon Bosses, like I could get all these things and block him. In my mind, that's what I thought I could do, but just completely to the blindness of the diagonal.
I'm not gonna lie. So we were talking about this during the match as well. Is that you had a really good idea of the board and a really good approach to the board. It's just the sequencing of those decisions, I think, was just the little bit of a downfall on how the board went. Because if you went for a Drain the Water into shields first after that legendary summon, you would have blocked everything, and then you would have had insane priority, with that Ancient Dragon Man into the whole back play that you were talking about right afterwards. So I think if that would have happened first, you definitely would have been cooking in that regard 110%. Like, I think that would have been a very, very different match as well from Tom too. So I think that I genuinely am like honestly really happy to see like the plays that are coming out from you. I think it's really, really cool. Like genuine props of like seeing the board the way it is and making those right calls and seeing the synergies. I think it's just like the sequencing that just got a little crazy. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
and it's part of it is just like you know, I gotta like. I know how certain people are playing. I wouldn't say I watch Tom a lot, but I haven't played Tom a lot, so it's like you get a different vibe. You know what I mean? I had complete blindness, but the DLC shields was something that I was focused on early, and I got away from it for some weird reason. And it is part of all like experience, decision making, just like, you know, a lot of experience. There's no question I have the least amount of experience in this tournament, so I'm not mad at that. I felt like I played pretty good. I felt like I had a good idea. I don't get mad when I get sniped because I just think a better player made a better play than me, you know. And I thought it was a fun match, really quick.
Yeah,
it was a good match, yeah, man. It was a good match.
Pooh, your game plan, what you just said, like all those thoughts they're just spot on. Like you had a really good game plan. Yeah, like Domo said, like the shields, maybe if you got the shields first, the game would have been completely different. You had really good pace, really good speed. So I'd be proud of your performance on this one.
What
honestly.
three shields did you get out of curiosity? Which ones did you get?
I got Castle Ensis.
Yeah.
And then I got the 2 shields in Shadow Keep.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. I think that was the other thing. Because he drained the water before he had the shields too, and I thought to myself, I was like, well, I definitely can't get 2 shields in this time. And yeah,
You might have been able to get more in Castle Ensis by that time.
Yeah, I probably should have. That's definitely something I should have focused. But again, in my mind, I was not considering the diagonal. I was literally looking at the rows and columns.
Yeah. I mean,
what's funny about that too is like in my mind, like before I started the match, I always look at diagonals. I don't know why I didn't consider it to beat me. Yeah,
they can be really sneaky. I think if the thought came across that once that Black Knight boss honestly was marked with the inflicting the 3 different statuses, going for drain the water right after that would have been definitely a stronger play than the legendary Ash summon, just to get rid of that column 5 and row 2 progression, just like right out of the gate, right? Just to make it just be a bit more conscious of that. But overall, I think overall game plan was definitely spot on. Definitely a good thought process, and just Tom having a really strong line, and obviously being a kill Andy, having
Tom's
that.
fast.
Yeah, having that diagonal and being like, you know, I like this, just going straight forward, I think was a really good execution on Tom's part as well. So it was a great match. It was a short but sweet match from both of you guys. So I think it was great.
One thing I know is like it's gonna be really hard for, you know, virtually any of us to get to a place faster than Tom, right? You know, just to get from point A to point B faster than Tom. And that was definitely something that like I took into account here. You know, like I was tried to be aware of that a little bit, you know, and maybe I did too much of that, you know, hindsight, but it's fun, man. I really like this Domo. Thanks for inviting me, man. I've had the absolute blast. This is so much fun. I love it.
Yeah, no worries.
I love your attitude.
Dude, I love it. Yeah. I mean, I love it. I don't care. This is great. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is a GG's to Tom here, going to 2-2 now on the record. Getting that extra victory on the leaderboard here. Are you guys playing tomorrow now? I always have to check the schedule. There's so many matches happening.
I am playing tomorrow.
No doubleheader for me this week.
No, you are Blanks.
I think I see you there. Yeah,
GrandPOOBear
you
versus Blanks.
Oh wait, I play tomorrow?
Yes, you
play
do.
tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad I had the day that I totally didn't realize that. All right.
Yeah, you're the last match of tomorrow, GrandPOOB versus Blanks.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna go try and sleep this fever off here. So and.
Oh snap! Yeah, I hope you feel better, man.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, dude, I'm rocking.
Yeah, I hope you feel better.
Oh no, hey, I feel great. That was tons of fun. So.
Well, GG's again to both of you guys. Good luck to you guys tomorrow in your matches as well. Thanks so much for playing today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. Thanks so much for being here. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
You too, Domo, Mitch, and Pooh. Have a great day,
guys. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.